And tragedy on the coast. 2 drownings along the Jersey Shore in less than a week. What you can do to spot and avoid danger in the water. That's next.
As the East Coast is bracing for those storms, a tragedy struck New Jersey on Friday when a 13-year-old girl drowned while swimming at the beach. It was the second deadly drowning along the Jersey Shore in just a week. And then down in the Bahamas, 2 American tourists drowning just a few hours apart at a new Carnival resort. Here with the swimming safety tips that you and your family need to know, American Lifeguard Association spokesperson Wyatt Werneth. Thank you so much, Wyatt, for being here.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Good morning. So this is something that we all do. We take our children to the beach. We take them to the swimming pools. You had 2 people die on Friday at that resort that's owned by Carnival Cruise. And one died snorkeling in the ocean, a man, and then a woman died at the swimming pool. So what do we need to do to stay safe?
Well, you know, every time I hear about a drowning, it's very tragic because it's very preventable. You know, most importantly, you know, learn to swim, America. Your ability to swim can save your life. And I don't know the actual details about the resort incident, but lifeguards are paramount. You know, having lifeguards available that are trained, your chances of drowning in front of a lifeguard are 1 in 18 million. So organizing and having lifeguards in any type of resort type area will be beneficial, and monitoring to make sure that they're well trained, because a trained lifeguard means a lot to safety.
Yeah, when you have children, sometimes we're watching them swim, but you told our producers earlier, make sure there's a lifeguard there. Look to make sure there's a lifeguard. The average death for rip currents also, which is a big story right now, the average usually is 76 per year. In 2024, there were 73 deaths because of these rip currents. So how do we avoid a rip current? You say everything's preventable. What do we do if we're in that situation?
You know, let's unpack a little checklist that we have. One is know before you go. If you can go online and check out where there are lifeguards, or where maybe there's not lifeguards, you need to know what the weather conditions are. And if the rip current warnings and things like that are out there, then you need to heed warning, beware. The other thing is always assign a water watcher. If you got a group of people, you might need more than one water watcher, because watching the little ones and making sure that they're in Coast Guard approved life jackets, or even adults, if they can't swim, we need to identify that before we get to the water environment. The other thing is, if you are caught in a rip current, you got to remember RIP, relax, and R for relax, I for indicate help, and let someone know. Someone might have a flotation device available like what we have behind us so they can get out to help you. And P, maybe swim parallel to get out of danger. With all those things combined, if you do a little research and prepare to go to that open water environment, that pool, or even that resort, it's going to be a much safer day.
Okay, I know you're out at the beach today. It looks like that's the beach behind you. What are you seeing out there? And also, we also want to play this video, Wyatt. NOAA has released this, the National Weather, and they put out this video, what to look for with a rip current. So that's what a rip current, I guess, looks like. But that looks like normal water to me. If I walked out in that, I wouldn't realize I'm in the middle of a rip current.
It takes a while to be able to identify and train to identify them by visual in the water. We do know that certain conditions with an onshore wind and when the tide is going out and if the moon is full, these kind of things make them stronger. But one thing that we help people with that's an identifier is when you see a dip, there's a rip. Where there's a dip, there's a rip. That place where you're sitting on the beach and the water comes up and gets everything wet and the people on both sides of you are dry, you're in the rip. Stay out of it.
Yeah, it's very scary. And you can be an experienced swimmer and be caught in that. We've heard swim parallel to the beach. Is that a myth?
Well, you know, that's a long time that we've been preaching that, if you will. But rip currents act different everywhere that you can find a rip current. They're not the same. And what the most important thing is to relax, the RIP, relax. The I is indicate that you're in danger. If you just float and relax, you're not going to go under. And then P is swim parallel is what we say, but you just want to kind of ride it out. The most importantly, if there's someone on the beach, we always tell people to relax and do the things in the water. But if you see someone in trouble, never go into the water without flotation device. We have a project here called the Drown Zero that's funded by when you buy a license plate, endless summer license plate, and we get these stations all over the beach, and they're out there for free. You want to make sure you swim near one of those and what they are and how to use them, but never go into the water without a flotation device.
Okay, Wyatt, thank you so much. I do want to read a statement from Carnival. It says our lifeguards and medical team responded to 2 separate emergency incidents at Celebration Key on Friday, one in the lagoon and one at the beach. Sadly, both guests have passed away. Our thoughts and prayers are with the guests and their families, and our care team is providing assistance. Thank you so much, Wyatt, and thanks for what you do to keep us all safe.